Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. And together we bring you experts and ideas to help grow healthy, happy, successful families that are both inside
and outside the box. If you like the show, be sure to follow Christina on Facebook.
And please leave us a like review on your favorite podcast platform.
Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Derek Crager. Derek is a neurodivergent entrepreneur diagnosed at 50 with ASD, ADHD, and dyslexia. After decades of being told he was too intense, too quiet, or too much, Derek discovered the truth. His brain was never broken. The system just didn't speak his language. Today, Derek leads Practical AI, where he's transforming how we work, learn, and connect. And he's building a powerful community at AIforautistics.com to help others like him use artificial intelligence to build real, sustainable lives. Whether you're discussing mental health, neurodivergence, technology, or work culture, Derek brings honesty, humor, and hope. Welcome, Derek. It is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you both for having me. You're very kind.
Yeah, whenever we talked before on our pre-chat, because we usually do a pre-chat before our guests come onto the show, we talked a little bit about, AI and your diagnosis and how we can really hopefully reach out to families and help them through this podcast, through this show of figuring out a way to either help their child with AI or be cautioned about a couple of things with the AI, or how you even handled some of the things you handled as you were growing and changing into the person you are today. So welcome, and we are so glad that you are here.
Thank you.
So normally our first question has to do with your passion and where it came from, kind of, and we go back into early childhood and kind of bring it up. But AI isn't that old. So our passion is relatively recent, but there's a pre-passion. So how did we get into AI and make this, however you transferred your life into AI for autistics? What was that path? Because so changing at 50 with a passion is an interesting story.
Certainly. Certainly is. So because I was not diagnosed until age 50, I went through a lot of, why me scenarios, from the time I was a kid through, until I was 50 for that matter. And I had difficulty connecting with others. And I wanted to have friends. I wanted to say I had friends, but I really didn't have many people that I could call friends. I remember two, one from grade school, one from high school. And so that's only about half of my education time. But that allowed me to, instead of friends, I had hobbies. So I dove into technology at an early age, whatever early is, building sets, Lincoln logs, erector sets, had a neat little tool that can weld with plastic, which looking back probably wasn't too healthy, but I could build race cars and crush them, through. Anyway, I started programming on a Texas Instrument TI-99 4A computer, which is, we used to hook it up to a television and save our software to an audio cassette, which I don't know how many people in the audience today know what an audio cassette is, but there's a few of us. But even to say audio cassette for data is weird. So go into the 1980s and more of the traditional, we're just getting into the traditional PCs. And before the internet was around, I was connecting on dial-up one at a time. We called them BBS, or bulletin board systems. Christina sounds like she's been there and done that. And we had email back before the internet, but it took these drops. It took 5 days for email to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, because it would only go one region at a time. So that was really kind of a unique thought if we look back and say it took 5 days to send an email. But the internet started officially for us consumers in 1989. And by this time, I was transitioning from bulletin board to the World Wide Web, as it was called. And I got to work with some of the founding members of the web, the fathers and mothers, the parents of the web here. And it didn't seem like a big deal, because the geek or nerd community was so small, or it felt small. We were all helping each other out because we didn't yet have that one to many. So I ended up selling online NFL Super Bowl hats and shirts and shorts. And from 1990 to 1993, I sold on 5 different continents. I had my $5.99 a month 800 number to make it look like I was a big company. I actually closed up my shop in 93 because, get this, I thought I had saturated the marketplace with my products. So looking backwards, we think, well, that's silly. But I share that as a foundation.
Instead of a Jeff Bezos.
Absolutely, 100%. I could have been one of those that lost everything in the 99 internet bubble bust. But looking back, I could have rode that surfboard on that first technical wave, but it really wasn't until 2006 when the world jumped on board the internet. So that was about 17 years after it was available. So where I'm at today on AI, it's another technological knowledge boom. It's really more about the sharing of knowledge than it is technology. Technology is the platform, but the effect is knowledge. And we're using it today to deliver instant, accurate knowledge to anybody on the planet. And the solution that we're providing is on a POTS system, which is POTS, plain old telephone system. So we use AI and we simplify it like Jeff Bezos did with the one-click purchase. Because before he did that, they were just another company that sold online. They weren't even a very successful company until that. But then boom, last time I checked, I think Amazon.com sells 57% of all retail goods. So this time when I saw the AI, I thought, this is another technological wave. I'm going to grab my surfboard. I'm going to ride this one out. And I know it's early. I'm going to have eyes wide open. And I'm using it for that. But our company, even though it's called Practical AI, we're not an AI company that I would call ourselves. We're a learning company. And learning and education has always been close to my heart. And I found out that I can use AI to do the work of 100 people and thousands of hours and make it a one-to-one relationship if somebody wants to learn about something. So that's my A to Z. And if I was younger, it probably would have been quicker, but that's how I ended up in AI today, Herb.
Yeah, well, congratulations, geek. You rode the wave all the way to the front of it. I got to the front of the wave a couple of times and I wiped out hard, and then I decided to become like second wave instead of leading it. So I completely get where you're coming from. I didn't have the entrepreneurship mentality to be that much out front, because when I got hit, it hurt hard. So congratulations for that. Love that. Now at 50, diagnosed with autism, ADHD, how did that make you feel? That's not quite the right term, but how did that help you reconcile your life? Because I did that by learning my personality profile, kind of what you said at the beginning. Learning about my personality profile helped me kind of do what you just said. How did you use your diagnosis to help you? Because some people take that diagnosis, oh man, I'm this, and they use it as an excuse for everything to get out of it. But you took it and you ran with it and you created a business. So what's the difference? How did you get there? You talked about it helping you figure out your past. So let's go into that a little bit.
It felt kind of like the key to the past. And I'll tell you what led up to it. I had suspicions, but even for 10 years, and it was about 10 years, going in different groups and asking questions, participating in conversations. I suspected, but until you get the official diagnosis, it's not a 1 or a 0. So, we don't know. It's a Schrodinger cat situation, I guess I could say. But when I got that diagnosis, I cried off and on for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, it was just tears of happiness, tears of sadness. What did I miss out on? Well, if we would have known, we could have taught him different. I could have learned different. I could have acted different. I could have not had all that pressure from the past trying to fit in. I mean, I remember back to being 14 years old and started my journey down the self-help aisle, that virtual self-help aisle we all visit. And I would just digest everything I could, trying to figure out what's the Band-Aid that's going to fix me. And so when I turned 50 that year and got that diagnosis, I had an answer. And so I was happy for the answer. And so it was up and hill. But after that 2 weeks time, I sucked it up, moved forward, held my head high, and I said, you know what? Now I can speak from a point of knowledge rather than just being ignorant and I don't know. That's hard on us humans, is the not knowing. So at this time, I was at Amazon, the big Amazon. I was actually working there, and I was in the learning, and I was learning. I taught a lot of the analytical people, the people that have a higher percentage of being like us rather than just, whatever average is. And in 2021, they had me build from scratch an employee onboarding training program because Amazon was doubling in size, going from 500 physical buildings to 1,000, and which meant they could serve their customers better. But because of that, the employee base is doubled as well. So I was responsible for training the managers and supervisors and regionals and giving them a train the trainer package so they could train all their technicians and mechanics and engineers that they were hiring in. I think ultimately we ended up onboarding in this waterfall method 35,000 people in about 10 months. So I didn't see that many pairs of eyes all at once myself, but I met and I trained all of the managers and that hired them and went through. So that learning part, and I tell that story because you asked me what was my superpower. What did I do with this knowledge? I embraced that I had autism. I put on the bottom of my corporate email that I have autism, and that if something doesn't come across as clear, by all means, tap me on the shoulder and let's have a conversation in person or virtual. I think I had a phrase in the signature that said, hey, I'm dyslexic. I use dyslexic, this open dyslexic font, which allows me to read a little bit easier. So if you're asking a question, that's why I'm using that. But because I embraced it, it became a power, and I wasn't trying to hide it. Because any disability that we have, we learn to hide it because we don't want to be judged, and we can empower ourselves by embracing that. And many people before me have embraced their own differences into an advantage. So part of that embracing allowed me to be a better teacher, a better instructor, a better instructional designer. And I got in close with what people needed to learn and how they needed to learn it. And you mentioned the personality assessments. That was part of my onboarding journey as well. Every class that we had some sort of personality assessment or a behavioral assessment. And I know Myers-Briggs is the biggest one out there, but there was a company called Effectiveness Institute that used a DISC variation that not only tells you what you are, but how you can make those differences, your superpower. There was another company, Neurocolor, that it's one of there's over 2,000 of these assessments just in North America, but these were ones that when we just shared the knowing of who we are, let's learn about ourselves, and then let's learn about ourselves in a group with others. Now we all know that we're different and other people are different. There's some similarities and some polar opposites, but when we acknowledge this, now we can build a bridge between the islands and communicate. And we push trust and respect, and trust and respect are the planks on that building a bridge to good communication. So that's what I did with that understanding of my neurodiversity discovery.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I want to tell you, so I hurt my head. I suffered a traumatic brain injury. So for several years, that was kind of almost the conversation leader with me, especially with people that I hadn't seen in a while. I was like, hey man, I hurt my head. And my thought was, it's going to explain why I'm different. And then they had seen me before and kind of some of the weird stuff that I do now since I hurt myself. But I was told to stop telling people that I was hurt because they made it sound like I was talking bad about myself. It's like, no, I got a brain injury. Got brain damage. It's like, so I'm weirder because I was weird before.
He was weird before.
But I'm weirder now because of it. So, but I was kind of said, oh yeah, don't tell people that because it's like you're. So I'm really happy that you were able to
work through that, navigate.
Yeah, get that information out because I wasn't able to communicate it that clearly. So well done on that.
One of the things I want to point out here is our families are listening, our parents are listening again, is like when you get that diagnosis for your child, right? What can you do to help your child, one, understand it in age appropriate ways, in ways that they understand that their brain works a little bit differently than others, and two, how can you help them phrase it like you did as a superpower instead of a disability, a way that you can be looked at different, but in a good way, right? And instead of an excuse of not being able to do something. So by listening to your story, parents can backtrack that and hopefully put that on their younger children and help them change that narrative, right? Oh, instead of my child is disabled, they can do this and this and this instead because they're a little bit different. Yeah.
It's the story of the ugly duckling, is it not?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about Myers-Briggs. That's one of my favorites. So because it helped me save my life as well because I was one of the ugly ducklings. And when I learned about personality, that's another one of those things where it's like, oh no, don't talk about personality because it pigeonholes people and it puts labels on it. And like what you did with this autism is like, no, I can do this and I can do this, and you put that there. I started doing that with my personality. So it's like, oh, I reacted this way in this situation because that's my default personality. If I want to react differently, I have to build tools on programs on top of my personality to change that behavior. And I called it using my personality to build the character that I wanted. Because we are characters. So how I wanted to be portrayed, I had to build that, and I had to use the strengths to cover the limitations in my personality to have the character that I wanted to present. And it sounds like you did that also with the AS with your diagnosis. So how did you make that change? Because again, like we talked about, so many people hear that and then there's like, oh, they use it as an excuse. How did you go from an excuse? You said 2 weeks was your excuse time. Some people do that for the rest of their life. So your excuses was 2 weeks of, oh, poor me, why me? And then it's like, okay, now let's build from here. 2 weeks. Some people take 2 years. How do you help that? What's that little trigger?
Okay. Well, let me put a temporary pin in that one for a moment. You mentioned your TBI. I too had a TBI. And people don't understand the effect a TBI has on personality. I had mine in November of '99. I woke up in an ambulance and taken to the hospital. So I've had two. I had another one in 2011 that one was a car accident. One was on a soccer field where two people running full speed, and it was a cheap shot, but it still ended up, that one, it was even worse than the car accident. But the TBI, and it does change your personality. I was married at the time, had been married for 5 or 6 years. And when I had that TBI, my wife said I was a different person when I came out of it. And we are, for perspective, based on our personality. And now to speak to the personality part, Herb, you described it perfectly, how you understood your personality, but you got to choose your behavior, right? And we know what we do. We have the tendency to do or act a certain way. And now that we have this knowledge, whether it's Myers-Briggs or Effectiveness Institute or Neurocolor or any of the 2000 are out there, we have a knowledge that it's like, okay, it's like looking at different sides of the elephant, when, that aphorism with the blind men and they see different things with their hands. We identify what we're good at and what we have a tendency to do naturally. But now that we stop and think, we have our frontal lobe here that does the thinking for us. If we take 2 seconds, 2 seconds is all anybody needs under a non-stressful situation. Say, I'm going into this scenario. Do I need to be empathetic, sympathetic? Do I need to be mad? Do I need to be stern? Do I need to be quiet? And it depends. Am I going into an 8-year-old's birthday party, or am I going into a funeral? Or is it a sporting event and I'm competing? We choose those, but we can't make those choices without the knowledge. So it's that knowledge of our personality and behavior style that allows us to get there. And I wanted to highlight that because I think that's very important. You asked me how I just took 2 weeks. I had a lot of bad days, right? We all have had a lot of bad days, but I want to state that it wasn't just 2 weeks where I decided to flip my life around. It can happen that way. My life changed at the TBI. I actually wasn't even able to speak words and sentences for 3 months when I had my first TBI. But when I got my diagnosis, I had already had been experimenting in educating myself for about 10 years. And I did that all on my own. If I was going to give advice today, and I guess that's what I'm doing, right? Responding to your question, I'm giving advice. It would be to talk to somebody. It can be within your family. It can be a professional. There's today we have many more resources that we didn't have even 10 years ago. And if you're listening and you don't feel comfortable talking to a human, you can talk to AI, you can chat, or you can use voice. And one of the tools my company builds is for employee HR departments for their employees to call and just, had a bad day, help me through it, or I've got this problem. And people are more apt, humans of all ages are more apt to talk to a non-judgmental AI that sounds like a human than they are an actual human. And there's so many barriers. I know that every job that I've been to, it says, call our EAP line, or here's our health number, or mental health awareness week. But my gosh, it's like jump through a hoop, then another hoop, and now I got to wait. And then by this time I'm so stressed out, it doesn't help. But boy, if I could just pick up a phone and talk to an AI that just sometimes just listens to me, that just makes my day much better. And there's not the barrier of availability of a professional. You don't have the barrier of the cost of a professional. You don't have the barrier of waiting in line because AI is scalable to one-on-one. We're not so much one-to-many anymore. We're one-on-one. So that turnaround, I think it really is up to us at a certain point we have to say, hey, if it's got to be, it's up to me type of thing. And the whole fake it till you make it. I mean, I still fake it today. If I get up and I don't feel top of the morning, then I got to process. And right now, behind the screen I'm looking into, I have a list, and my priorities, my top two priorities are health and wife. So if I get through that every day, then I can address everything else. So find a process, find an outlet. You can chat on Reddit groups, you can chat on Facebook groups, you can chat on groups that don't even have names. There's organizations out there that have help that you can talk to, or you can just talk to a friend. But it's good just to talk, and it definitely helped me get out from under myself and hold my own head up high. Everybody can hold their head up high. Just read The Ugly Duckling. I haven't even heard that story in a while, but read The Ugly Duckling, because that's what we are.
Now a few words about vibrant family education.
How many entrepreneurs and business owners start out on this journey to make a better life for their family, only to find that it took so much more time and effort than they were expecting that they had even less time for their family? I know I did.
At Vibrant Family Education, we want to help you reach your family goals while you're still building towards your business goals. We do this by bringing you the third leg of the stool to keep your family upright, family education development.
By bringing your children's education home, you will be able to model your work ethic and family values as you overcome obstacles and challenges to build your business. Instead of learning facts to pass tests, your children can be watching and seeing the dedication it takes to build your business and the legacy you want to create for their future. They will be able to witness the struggles and joys, the wins and the losses, and learn from you how to persevere and grow in life.
Instead of waiting until you get successful to spend more time with your family, start with the end goal in mind and bring your family home. Instead of trying to repair your family after you reach success, let us help you start achieving your family goals from the outset. Learn to be successful with your family now, and no matter what happens in the future, they will be better prepared for life, especially after watching how you cared for and built not only a business, but a healthy, happy, and successful family.
We offer a wide range of educational services, including how to easily get started with homeschooling. Come visit us at vibrantfamilyeducation.com and let us show you how. And now back to our guest. So when I hurt my head and life got dark, I ended up going through a psychedelic procedure to recover myself. And through that, I became a psychedelic integration coach. And so I help people recover through that. So part of what you're talking about being able to use AI to talk to people, in a way, that almost kind of scares me, because it takes away a lot of coaches' job. But there's also within the I guess the psychedelic and human integration kind of stuff, there is a little bit of still leeway there because of it's ineffable. But and also, I'm a coach. I work with lots of coaches, and we talk as like, hey, reach out if you're having a bad time. And then we find out 2 or 3 weeks later, oh yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago I was having a rough time. But you don't hear about it till. So even in our coaching community, even those of us who do it, we have a hard time reaching out and asking for help, even within our own communities. So sometimes it's embarrassing, sometimes it's frustrating. There's all sorts of reasons, but don't let that stop you. Seriously, it's so helpful to talk to people, whether it's AI or you get to someone. Just being able to get to speak helps drain the junk out of your brain and get it out, so it's out here instead of in here.
Stuck, yeah.
So even if you're getting it wrong, even if you just so call for help. It's so important. So now I want to get back to kind of our topic. Your company is now about practical AI for helping autism. How did you get there? How does that help families? Do you work with families and children? And how can these tools be adapted specifically to help children on the spectrum? Or even
yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on it. The practical AI is a for-profit, and we have solutions for corporations and enterprises And that's where we make our money, right? Somebody has to pay for put food on my table. I have a nonprofit side of practical AI that's two levels. The solutions that we have for corporate America, allow me to give and highly discount solutions for independent practitioners, for nonprofits. I have one solution. Coaches, AI will never replace humans for what counts. Coaches, teachers need to be there always. So what we're using AI is as an augmented intelligence. So I have and I don't want to give out a name because I don't have permission to share her name, but I have a coach, a counselor, a therapist that works with 34 families right now, and somebody in the family is autistic. And so she said, Derek, I only have so many hours in a week, and I can only do so many one-on-ones, so many group calls, and I would just like to help more people. So what we did for her, and I built this for her and I gave it to her because I believe in helping those that have a need for it. And I believe in learning and sharing of knowledge. So what we did, we allow her to focus her expertise to the times that benefit, but then augment 80%. She can offload 80% of like the same questions that you hear all the time. Kind of like those FAQ questions, but augment through an anthropomorphized voice that her families can call, the parents can call, the children can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it records the conversation, and the patients know that the reports and the recordings will go to their practitioner, and that way the counselor here, this therapist, can actually stay in touch. It's a way of monitoring her clients, her patients, and allowing her to help more people. And think of it like a heart doctor giving us, they put the little heart monitor on our chest, and we go home and they don't see us for 2 weeks, and the machine is automatically uploading information. It empowers the doctor to treat more and to treat more specifically. So it's a way to address that realm. So you asked me about what practical AI does. So we have the voice first AI that provides knowledge to the knowledge seeker, and we put that in a box and we speak only on that knowledge. On the nonprofit side, we have the AI for Autistics community, where it's an online, it's our own platform, but it's a place that's like a Facebook or a LinkedIn, where you have different rooms, you can talk about different topics. But specifically with AI, we do talk about how we can leverage AI to help us throughout the day, but that's not our primary focus. Our primary focus is to build software, to build mobile apps, to build websites for the neurodiverse among us, because autistics and unemployment rates, companies don't like to keep us very long, even if we get past the hiring phase. So we excel at a lot of things that are creative, that are analytical. And so I see this intersection of using AI. I am teaching people of all ages to use AI to write programs, and non-programmers at that, because there's platforms of many different shapes and sizes. Just like we asked ChatGPT, how do I make onion soup? We can ask these dedicated, specific programming and coding platforms to say, build me a tic-tac-toe game for 2 people. And it will go through, it will create all the files, and then you get to the point and you say, all right, make the background green and make the X's red and the circles blue, and you're just talking to it through words. So it's empowering these individuals to create things in a day that they would have to spend years in learning to program, learning to code, and end up working for somebody else if even they got to it. And so that's the nonprofit community side of practical AI, is just empowering the individuals, and that's all. There's no cost to any of the participants. That's all funded through our for-profit side, and we're allowing people to create their own business, because a lot of us, hey, we work great in public for 5 minutes and then we need a break for an hour. And so these creative opportunities I just chose it as a sweet spot, just because it's something I know and I can share and empower others. So that's the two sides that I've been working with.
So
my turn.
Your turn.
My turn.
Christina's turn.
You've been dominating this conversation. So actually, what you were just talking about is exactly what I wanted to ask you, is because we actually have an autistic son, and we've been through the ups and downs of job, no job, not wanting to be out of the house too much, etc. And I actually gave him your link, right? And his question to me was, what will this do for me? Why would I want to interact with this? So what you just gave us is part of that. But what else could I say to him that would make him say, oh yeah, maybe I do want to go in and explore this a little bit more? Because we know that people on the spectrum are usually very black and white. There's not a lot of gray. They're either going to go for it or they're not going to go for it.
Well, great. It's the old radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Yep. So that's the thing, and we are all salespeople on Earth, because we're all selling something. Even if it's, can I sit with you at lunch? I got to sell you on the idea that I would be a good, conversationalist, or maybe I would just be silent. I don't know yet. That's the discovery process. So for your son, may I ask how old he is?
He's 33.
Okay. What's in it for him, if he has technology, well, I guess technology insight or questions on the analytical, if he's ever wondered how to program a website, if he's ever wondered how to program a mobile app, and it's the ADHD in me wants to learn how to program with the Pythons and the Javas and the C++ and whatever they're all called. But that means I literally have to learn multiple languages, and I don't have the patience for that. So AI allows us, those of us that are on the spectrum and have different communication adjustments we need to make, and focus. Sometimes we focus so deep, we get too deep in it. Other times we don't focus deep enough to learn something. So if he's ever felt like he's standing outside the crowd and just watching, and he really wants to participate and build something despite whatever limitations each of us have, then it's an opportunity. And if nothing else, it's not just, come on, I'll teach you how to build. It's, hey, come on over, ask the questions yourself. Hey, Derek, can I? Hey, Derek, what does this button do? And it's really just all of us in this asynchronous community sharing thoughts and helping out each other. So if any of that would appeal to him, then yeah, come on over.
Yeah, I'll go and approach it that direction. So I'm actually going to go to the other kind of parent now. It's like, oh, wait a minute, AI is awful. It's going to give my kids too much information, or is going to lead them down the wrong path. It's going to do something that is not safe for my child.
AI is evil. They read all the headlines about the seriously weird stuff it does. And not going to lie, I haven't got involved in AI except for the last couple of months when I ask Google for stuff now. The answers says generated by AI, and they're so much more complete. And it's like, wow, that's actually helpful. So just in the last couple of weeks, I went from, oh yeah, AI is like one of those, to, ooh, this might be helpful.
And then the last part of that question is age. How low should we go, kind of letting kids go on this?
Well, I think AI is under the
Oh, we just lost you for a second. Is he back?
Guardrail. I'm testing 1, 2.
Oh, so you're back. And just as you started answering the question, so we didn't hear anything of what you said except for like the first 2 words. So
let's restart that answer, please.
Yeah, it felt like a Max Headroom moment. All right, so age specific. I think that AI with the guardrails that we put on it in the one-on-one training, and this is something that teachers decide on what's in that box, or parents decide, or you decide together on what's in that knowledge box. And once you have the knowledge box, the way we devised our systems is just through a telephone call with a Bluetooth or a headset or earphones. You're talking to AI like you're talking to grandma or mom or dad or grandpa. And under those scenario where that knowledge is handpicked, then there is no lower limit. I think there's more negatives that can happen, sitting a child in front of a YouTube channel and it goes off and off and off in different rabbit holes. And there's no way we can monitor 24/7. We have to give our kids, some respect that they're going to be able to choose themselves, but be able to make it an easy choice. So in that realm, they can go as low as they go, and it pulls them away from the sit and watch media. I'm a zombie. I mean, how many times do we come home and we have young kids or now maybe grandkids that are just sitting here like this?
Yeah, exactly.
But
they should be out playing, running, or doing something.
100%. So AI, especially the voice first that we operate in, leaves the kids' hands free. Like, oh, I'm playing with Play-Doh. And maybe I'm talking to Grandpa AI or Johnny Jet AI. And what should I make with Play-Doh? I have blue Play-Doh and I have red Play-Doh. Well, you can make a tic-tac-toe board. Well, how do I do that? Well, you take a little bit of Play-Doh and you rub it between your hands and you make a line and you lay that line down. It's like writing with a pencil. And, oh, okay, I see now. Oh, wait a minute, my hands are sticky. Why are my hands sticky? And it's this interaction that is so much better than the analog screen time. Yeah. So I think AI is so valuable in that realm. The early part of the question was, what do we say to the naysayers, the negative Nellies that are out there that said, the Chicken Littles of the world? We really can't say too much. It'll come in your own time. The internet wave, when it came about, it's all ones and zeros and IPs and protocols, but the power of the internet was the exchange of information. And that information, I know accountants have this acronym, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, or now we say good in, good out, is what we're looking for. So the adoption of the internet, even though the normal person, consumer, was able to get on the internet as early as 1989, it was not until 2006, 17 years later, when everybody really adopted. It was like the crescendo moment. And what happened in 2006 is that we started having mobile phones that we could get on the internet. We didn't need a modem. We didn't need home Wi-Fi. There were browsers on our mobile phones. Now we entered the age of the smartphone, and it was that access that actually helped it be accepted. But it took 17 years. So for the people that are saying, hey, it's too soon, it's too early, and there's no way, just look back to the internet wave. People said the same thing. And it takes nearly a generation to adopt something new. So I'd say don't try to twist anybody's arm. I would say explore it at your own time and your own pace. Look for opportunities. Don't look to throw AI at a problem that you don't have. If you have a problem, throw in Occam's razor out there. The simplest solution is usually the best. So look at the easiest and simplest solution, which may or may not be AI. So you can come at it from two different realms. We're always going to have the early adopters. Early adopting teachers, the ones that are on the cutting edge of technology, sit in their classroom and listen, ask questions, and gradually onboard yourself. But don't make yourself uncomfortable with it, by no means.
And I want to add to that for those people who are also worried about this, and is just from the teacher perspective, is that just like anything you do with parents and kids, you do it with boundaries and guidelines, with values set in place and parental guides. You don't just let them go on it and let them explore on their own, at least at the beginning, right? You give them the basis, the guardrails to help them do it successfully and carefully.
Okay, so now there's also another group, because we talked about the conspiracy, oh, it's evil. Okay, now there's just the ones who know that there's a lot of stuff on the internet that their kids shouldn't see. And you talked about creating a book or a space or a cabinet. I'm not sure, I don't remember the exact word you used, for the information that goes in that. Can you explain that? Because most people, parents, are going to think, oh, AI is the internet, and anything you can get on the internet, you're going to be able to pull into AI. So when you said, oh, you can select the information and put it in a box. What does that mean? What does that mean? How is it that the kids aren't going to have, like, oh my God, access to all the internet? What is that? How would you explain that to parents who don't really know AI yet?
Certainly. I first want to acknowledge that those parents are absolutely right, that if a child, if an adult, if grandma and grandpa are getting on ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude there's actually over 1 million of these LLMs. Technical side, go to huggingface.com and you can actually download and experiment on your own computer. That's one way for those, if you have the technical ability, you can pull these LLMs that are small enough to run on your computer, and then you can set your own limits. So it's just not about me and the product I have, but for you to empower your audience here, you can go to Hugging Face and you can have all these AI language models. And there's LLMs, large language models, there's simple language models, there's small language models. And you can have these that actually work on your own computer, on your own laptop, on the little Pi devices that are $50 or less, that you can create your own, and you can experiment with your own knowledge. That's the way you can empower yourselves. How
is one language model different from another? Because again, we're talking about terms that our working parents who haven't had was like, well, large language. What is that?
Absolutely, it's how they were trained. So AI is machine learning, and they say machine learning meaning it's gobbling up all the knowledge that's out there. I all of a sudden I'm thinking of the Langoliers, a movie where it was kind of that way digitally. It was eating up all the information that was out there. But anyway, sidebar, sorry. The LLMs that are out there, the Chat GPTs, the big ones that are out there, they were trained on all the knowledge of the internet. So the parents are absolutely right. Because they were trained on all the knowledge of the internet, then they have access to all that knowledge, especially when you go in without a life preserver. So you ask questions and you get answers which may or may not be accurate. We heard this term hallucination, and hallucination just means that out of the maybe 20 or 50 answers that every question has, the AI tries to pick the one most favorable to that conversation, but it doesn't always pick the right one. So it picks something else and it says it's the right one, and it never does give an answer and say, well, this is one of 5 possible answers. No, it just gives you the answer, and we assume that it's the right answer. So in order to get away from that, the only way to get away from that is to leave the direct input for those AIs, whatever your favorite flavor is. And you can build it yourself at home, or you can work with companies like ours that we do that for you. And in the scenario, we have a K through 12 a product that we call it, education or extending education beyond, school hours. So in that scenario there, the teacher or a coach like yourself presents the information, you teach, you train, you have a few little back and forths, and you give them homework, and the kids go home and they practice and they do. So what we do, we take that knowledge, and it could be algebra 1 and 2 from junior high. It could be a social studies book. It could be an English book full of poems. We take that specific document and we put it in this digital box, and then we start putting things together. I told you I used to build with Lincoln Logs when I was a kid, and that type of thing. That's what we're doing today. We put the knowledge in the box and guardrail it, and then all the AI models, whichever model we have, talking to it, it's the interface between the knowledge on one side and the human on the other, whatever age. And so now all the questions that little Johnny or Janet or Lisa are asking goes to the AI, and the AI processes it and says, oh, here's the question they asked. Let me research. And instead of going out to the internet, it says, boom, I'm just looking in my proverbial backyard here at a smaller set of information. And as far as the AI knows, that's all the information in the world. So it's only going to pull answers from that information that mom and dad approve, that teachers approve. Somebody's going to be in the approval process to maintain and make it safe and topic specific.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better that can happen, because I was worried about that.
So the model creates a small subset of the data. So instead of going out to the infinite universe of the internet, it creates a section of data that has been vetted and verified within that system, so that you get answers that are more appropriate to what you're actually trying to teach or learn. Is that correct?
100% her.
That 100%. Is brilliant.
Love it. Oh my gosh. We could go
and
on.
I learned more there, because it's like, oh, large language models, what they just, so now that's explains, like, I get that more now. That's brilliant.
Wow.
Well, good. Glad I could help.
This has been such a awesome conversation, and we could go on and on and on. We appreciate your time so very much. And so explaining all of this stuff, right? And so we really need to make sure our families get a hold of this. Would you please make sure you share your information out loud? Of course, everything will be in the show notes as well, but share your information out loud right now for those who are listening, how they can get a hold of you or how they can interact with your items.
Oh, yes, thank you. So you mentioned earlier the AI for autistics.com, and that's FOR, just phonetically like it sounds, AI for autistics.com. And then on the business side, which has, it shows the different industries and schools and businesses and nonprofits, and it's got examples for all that you can go to practicalai.app. And phonetically, just like it sounds, practicalai.app, and that would be Apple, Paul.
And all of that information will be down in the show notes. So if you weren't able to write it, when you get somewhere safe, if you're driving, look in the show notes, it'll all be there. We
always like to give our guests, one last thing that they want to say. Maybe it's something we didn't quite get to. Maybe it was a special message that you really want the audience to hear. Go ahead and share that with us now.
Well, 2 parts, if I could. If you're a company out there with a lot of money, come hire me and pay me to earn money, because this is the other part of it. If you're a nonprofit or you have a special use case and you think you could find value in this and we could give it to you, then we'll give that to you. So contact me. We can discuss on what that looks like. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's available, because at the end of the day, at the end of my life, I was asked, if there's one thing that I would describe myself as in a single word, I would say teacher. And knowledge is power. And we're to the point where having the right knowledge empowers ourselves, it empowers our children. So look for ways, whether it's this way or another way, just keep your mind open and look for ways to fill that knowledge gap and give your children access to their own tools with your permission. We talked about the approval process, but give them permission to learn on their own and give them opportunity where they want to learn on their own. And it's not just reading a book. It's not just sitting still in front of a movie, even if it's National Geographic, but get them involved in that engaged conversation, the conversations that kids have with grandma and grandpa, because mom and dad sometimes work too much, and grandma and grandpa teaches through doing. Give them the opportunity to do and access the knowledge so they can keep doing and answer their own questions. I think that's the most important thing.
Could not possibly agree more.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so very much.
So I would like to thank you for being here today. In this day and age, so many people, again, get their diagnosis and bury their head in the sand. They get the bad news, they run away, or they stop living. You took your diagnosis, you took your news, and you used it to improve your life. And then you came back home and you shared that with the village to make the world a better place. That is the hero's journey in a nutshell. You left home, you fought your dragon, you came home with the treasure to share it. So Derek, my friend, you are a hero. You're a hero for helping families and for wanting your biggest legacy to become known as a teacher. So thank you for being here today. Thank you so much for what you do.
Herb, Christina, thank you both. It's been my honor. It's great experience, and a shout out to all the listeners. Just tap one person and have them subscribe. You'll double your listenership overnight. It's the best thing you could do if you're listening.
Thank you so much. All right, audience, it is that time. Like, share, and share some more, because this message from Derek and all the other experts that we bring to you, heart-centered people who really want families to succeed, needs to get out there, needs to be spread around so that families can be happy, healthy, and successful. Until next time, bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. And together we bring you experts